My association with the waste movement in Bangalore and solid waste management roundtable in particular started in 2011. A group of us had led the source segregation drive in our apartment community, and guided by an SWMRT member, in a matter of few weeks, we had all the 370 houses segregating their waste meticulously. Personally, it gave me a lot of joy thinking about now all my waste was getting recycled. And I was wondering why this simple practice couldn't be adopted by everybody in the city to eliminate landfills altogether. Probably it was the simplicity of this assumption that led me to join Sahas in 2014. I wanted to make Bangalore a zero waste city by implementing source segregation. My first day at Sahas was a reality check. Visiting our decentralized waste management facility, I was excited to see what happened after we segregated our waste. Waste was getting sorted in about 25 categories. It required skill and training to do it efficiently. Mistakes were expensive. Mixing few shreds of color paper in a white paper lot could bring down its selling price by 2/3. Batteries had to be removed from toys and gadgets as they could explode and cause fire. Leftover water had to be removed from PET bottles, else the buyer would do a flat cut insisting that everything had water in it. Even an item like this diary, it will require separating the cardboard cover, the metal binder, the plastic separators and all the color paper. Waste sorting was indeed backbreaking, but what was heartbreaking for me that day was looking at the pile of non-recyclable waste which was occupying almost half the center. Bags full of clothing, shoes, mattresses and something called laminate. This is a composite packaging, technically number 7. These are today used for packaging chips to detergents. Looking at that pile, I learned a hard lesson that day. While source segregation was essential for any kind of recycling, it couldn't guarantee it. My 7-year journey with Sahas has been quite enlightening. As an organization with 20 years of work experience, we have implemented sustainable waste management solutions in urban and rural areas, in cities and villages, covering high-end apartments to slums, from tech parks to public parks. And we now have a pretty good understanding of what is working and what isn't. People behavior and source segregation is least of our problems. Most people come on board with these ideas with a clear messaging and regular waste collection. Our biggest challenge is non-recyclable waste, which basically consists of plastic packaging, items like textile, clothing and other plastic goods like toys, shoes, etc. These items have been steadily growing over the years. Their volume has gone up in both urban and rural areas. In one of our programs in North Karnataka, where we service about 20,000 houses, we send out about 100 truckloads of non-recyclable material every year. This is sent to cement factories where it is burnt. Now, burning of waste is not recycling. Recycling is not diversion from landfill. Rather, recycling is recovery of resources. Recycling is not a third world challenge alone. Many developed nations have achieved their recycling targets by exporting their waste to China. EU had been exporting 95% of their waste, while US had been sending out 4,000 shipping containers annually to China. China put a ban on this in 2018, where they were unable to recycle this material, while in Europe and US this was shown as recycled material. Now, we often hear that plastic is 100% recyclable, and the reason it doesn't get recycled is because people misbehave. They litter, they don't segregate their waste, and hence there isn't enough clean plastic available for recycling. But the China story debunks both these ideas. China was getting waste from countries like Japan and Germany, where people segregate their waste meticulously in 20 categories. It was clean waste coming at low value, and they had cheap labor to sort this material. They had ready demand, being the factory of the world, and in spite of that, trying for 25 years, they were not able to come up with an environmentally and economically sustainable recycling system. Actually, there are some fundamental problems with recycling, especially with plastic recycling. First, the properties of the plastic-based materials degrade significantly compared to, say, paper or metal. Paper can be recycled 5 to 6 times, metal can be recycled 20 to 30 times, and glass can be recycled infinitely. Secondly, we add a lot of additives and fillers to plastics when we make plastics. And when this material is recycled, there are contaminations and issues with the quality of this material. Third, plastic is made from a very cheap raw material, crude oil, and the price of this raw material has been steadily falling. Hence, the recycled material is unable to compete with this virgin raw material which is made from crude. We cannot brush aside these challenges under the carpet, and the industry needs to acknowledge these to be able to solve them. Government and the industry will have to truly step up. S stands for standardizing products and packaging. Today we have thousands of different shapes and sizes of packaging and boxes, containers. If we can standardize them, we can have economically viable multi-brand, multi-product container deposit and reuse systems. Similarly, we have currently just 1 to 7 number markings on the recycled plastics. But there are thousands of materials with different kinds of additives and fillers, etc. The kind of checks and bounds that we put on pharmaceutical products, we need to bring in same level of scrutiny with respect to different materials. They need to be checked for their long-term environmental impact and circularity before they are allowed to be used. T stands for taxation. We need to first assess the impact of different products and packaging, label them appropriately and tax them so that only the good products and services sustain in the market. E stands for entrepreneurship. It is very important that the government policy go on encouraging entrepreneurship around reused and repair and refurbishment. We need to drive the ideas of remanufacturing, the ideas around repair clinics, product servitization and shared economy based on asset rental and asset lease and rental models. These would generate local jobs all over the world, curbing migration. P stands for public engagement. Till now, public engagement has focused on assigning individual responsibility. This needs to be taken beyond. We need to engage public in making important decisions. If people in Malaysia do not want waste from Germany, they should be able to decide it, not the industry or the government bodies. The big question is, how will these changes happen? As citizens, should we wait for our governments and businesses to step up? The odds are stacked heavily against these ideas, and we will have to put our collective might together to turn things around. We need to have deeper understanding of these issues. We need to be more demanding. We should ask for more accountability and transparency from industries and governments. And we also need to elect representatives that are in alignment with these ideas and thoughts. Most importantly, we need to buy products and support businesses which are promoting circularity. And all this while we continue to carry our bags and our bottles, because that is what got us together. That is what enabled us to look beyond and aim higher.